Well, a very, very happy Monday morning to everyone, and welcome to the John Kentera Show. Great to have you. Hope you had a great weekend. Man, what a weekend in the world of sports. What a weekend in the world of sports. In San Diego, Los Angeles, Dallas, we got so much to talk about. And Friday's show, we'll talk a little bit about the big Super Bowl coming up. But today on the program, we're going to talk Padres baseball. We're going to talk NBA, the big deal on Saturday night, and we'll get you up to date on the three Division I college basketball programs in America's finest city. But as usual, want to thank everyone for tuning in. Again, hope you had a great weekend. A lot of great sports on television, and I watched a lot. I watched a lot. There's no doubt about it. But I'd appreciate it if you would subscribe to our program. We're well over 3,000. Now we're going to work our way towards 4,000. And again, you can follow me on Facebook at John Kentera, and you can follow me on X at Coach Kentera 44. Okay. Friday, right when I was finishing up the program, and it was just coming down, wasn't official yet, Michael King and the Padres avoided an arbitration hearing. Thank goodness. I've been telling you for the last couple of weeks, I didn't want to see the Padres and Michael King go into arbitration, and that would be happening right here in early February. And you don't want to go down that road. I mean, it just burns bridges big time. If the team gets beat, they're mad. They normally trade that player shortly thereof, or maybe after the season. But Michael King, they got a deal done, and it avoided arbitration. To this point, AJ Preller, in his tenure as the president of baseball operations and general manager of the Padres, has never taken a player to arbitration. I'm glad this wasn't the first one. You want to keep good feelings with Michael King. Now, let me explain this deal. This deal, a little bit out of the ordinary, the way they structured it. But we've seen a team up the freeway about 100 miles structure contracts really strange the last couple of years, but they've done a good job. They know how to work the system, to say the least. And the Padres, I think, trying to work the system a little bit to stay out from underneath that luxury tax. Michael King, his deal. Now, follow me closely here, because this gets a little dicey at the second part of it. He will receive $1 million salary for this year. He receives a $3 million signing bonus. Then in 2026, there's a mutual option worth $15 million. Both sides would have to agree. There's a $3.75 million buyout. So if King doesn't want to be here, or the Padres don't want him, he gets 3.75. But that could go up to $4 million if he reaches the incentives on starts. So, and I would, if he's healthy like he was a year ago, he'd probably reach those incentives. But again, he does have a deal that could bring him back in 2026, but I tend to doubt that. Even if he wanted to come back, he may want more money, and he may opt out and go out to the free agent market. And if that's the case, the Padres could make him a qualifying offer, and qualifying offers this year were a little over $21 million. So Michael King is sitting in a very, very good place right now. I mean, he's guaranteed about almost $8 million guaranteed right now. And if he hits his incentives, he'll get to that $8 million mark. So he's going to be doing okay. He's going to be doing okay. And I'm glad. I'm a big fan of his. He also was asked at FanFest, and I'm going to get to FanFest in a minute. He was asked if there were any talks about a contract extension. He had his microphone standing up in front of everybody. He said no. So we'll see where it goes. Okay, but it looks like, for the time being, Michael King will be a Padre. Now, there's still talk out there about Dylan Cease, and Dylan Cease said, man, I'd love to stay in San Diego. Who wouldn't want to stay in San Diego? Okay, so right now, it looks like when pitchers and catchers report on February 12th, it looks like both those guys will be in camp. I'm not holding my breath that they're going to be here the entire year. And a lot of it depends on how the Padres play. I mean, both those guys could end up going somewhere else at the trading deadline if the Padres aren't in the race. But, we'll see how it all plays out. We'll also see what's going to play out with Luis Arraez. Man, we're getting close to pitchers and catchers. February 12th, first workout. And then February 17th, first workout for the all the other guys, all the position players. That's going to be great. I can't wait. It's coming into my time of year, folks, man. Pitchers and catchers reporting is like Christmas in February to me. And I know to a lot of you out there as well. Okay, now, did you go to FanFest? Did you go to FanFest on Saturday? How about those long lines? I think everybody that went, for the most part, yeah, you had to, wait in traffic. You had to wait to get in, even though you had your ticket. You had to wait in line to get autographs. But you know what? You know what you're signing up for. It's not your first rodeo out at FanFest. And Padres did a nice job of putting it on. I mean, there's always going to be complaints because I didn't get an autograph of this guy or I didn't get an autograph of that guy. But you know what? It's a good way to kick off the baseball season. And believe it or not, we need some good news here in San Diego, baseball-wise. It's been a tough offseason, very tough offseason. And we're going to get into that in just a minute, okay? But if you went to FanFest, dial me up with a few thoughts on FanFest. What did you like? What didn't you like? Positive, negative. I want to hear it all. And I'm going to tell you why. Because now that I've got this podcast, and the Padres know that I've got a great fan base, they always monitor what I am doing, okay? When I was on the radio, they always had somebody dedicated to listen to my program each and every day, and that person became a very big fan of mine. But I'm always very honest, I'm very upfront, and I don't pull punches. And I never did, and I never will. And they have people that listen to my podcast want to know what Coach is saying because they don't get a lot of that on regular radio. It's a little bit different on YouTube, but it's also different because I'm on YouTube and I've been on radio for over 30 years. And people could listen to me every day or driving around in their car. Now, if you're a really good baseball fan and want to know what's going on with your hometown club, you know where to tune in. And there's other broadcasters in radio that do a nice job. There's a few. And I think you know who the good ones are, and I think you know who the bad ones are. And who you can believe and who you can't believe. And who may be on the payroll and who's not on the payroll. I was never on the payroll. But I'm going to tell you this. Padres got a lot of work to do this year. We know that. And as we get into talking about what went on Saturday, I just hope everyone went out there. You got your Padre gear. You had a great time. Baseball's great, man. And Padre baseball's fantastic. Big part of my life. It has been a big part of my life. I was in church on Sunday, and I walked out, and this lady looks at me, an older lady, and goes, "Are you John Kentera, the broadcaster?" I go, "Yeah." She goes, "Oh, man, I love listening to you talk Padre baseball." And I go, "Ma'am, thank you very much. I really appreciate that." She goes, "Yeah, I heard your voice." I go, "That's got to be the coach." And she goes, "Does that happen to you a lot?" I go, "Yeah, it happens to me quite a bit." But it was very, very touching. It made me feel good. I was just walking out of church, and this lady noticed me and probably see me on TV, but recognized my voice. But that was very touching. But people associate me with the Padres because I was involved with them for so many years. And even though I don't go down to the ballpark and hang out there like I once did or sit in the manager's office, I still know what's going on. Okay? I still know what's going on because I still got plenty of friends down there that work with the ball club or around the ball club, and they give me good information. They give me great information, and I've got other sources that I work with as well. So, anyways, we're going to get into what went on Saturday at FanFest. I'm going to start right with Manny Machado. I'm going to start with the head man. Okay, as far as the players are concerned, he's the leader of the pack. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Manny is the leader of the pack. And the other thing, before I get into Manny, Padre fans, let's remember this. Let's keep the faith. That's what we're all about, keeping the faith and having looking like the glass is half full rather than half empty. But I'm going to be honest. I mean, things aren't going well. I'm going to tell you. And we're going to talk about some of those things right now. I mean, Manny Machado said to the media, are we disappointed we haven't made moves? Yeah, we're disappointed. I mean, Manny needs some help. Manny needs a lot of help. And we're going to get into talking about left field here when we get to the manager. But, Manny, he stood up there and, he answered the questions and he talked about Roki Sasaki. And he goes, I don't think it really came into play, the ownership issues here in San Diego. He goes, I think he pretty much had his mind made up. And you know what? I think that too. I realize Shildt Seidler's lawsuit had no bearing whatsoever on Roki Sasaki ended up signing with the Dodgers. I think you and I would all agree with that. That had no bearing whatsoever. Okay, it sounded good, but no bearing whatsoever. But Manny said that they're disappointed they haven't done more. Well, really, they haven't done anything. But if you listen to the manager on Saturday, he made it sound like they had a great offseason. A great offseason. Manny also went, as we look up there, a little disappointed that we didn't do anything. And as far as the ownership, he goes, it really doesn't play a part. He goes, I was very tight with Peter Seidler, with Shildt Seidler. But at the end of the day, we just got to go out and play good, solid baseball at a high level. That's what he said. And that's what he should say. I mean, the last thing you need is your high-priced third baseman to take one side or the other. Now, I know that him and Peter were extremely close. Peter wanted to get that contract extension done a year ago. They got it done. I don't know if it's in the best interest long-term for the Padres, but Peter Seidler ran the ball club, and that's how he decided to go about it. And I know Manny's wife, Yanni, very close with Shildt Seidler, so I'm sure they're getting it from the Shildt Seidler side. But Manny said the ownership has not talked to him, and you got to take him for his word on that. Okay, let's get to Mike Shildt. Now, Mike Shildt last year, folks, I got to be honest with you, he irritated me a few times. First of all, he did a great job. I want to state that he did a great job. 93 wins, pretty damn good in a Major League Baseball season. But there were times when I was a little irritated because I don't like to be talked to like a little kid. And what I mean by that, if your ball club has a bad night and gets beat 7-2 and is kicking it around the infield or striking out a dozen times, don't be afraid to say, we had a bad night, man. We didn't play very well tonight. We got to do better. But Mike Shildt, I mean, he got really irritated a few times last year after bad ball games, and he always wanted to talk about, well, we won 5 out of the last 6 series. Yeah, well, yeah, but you got your butt kicked tonight. Just admit it. That's a great thing about baseball. You talk about the game today, and tomorrow you turn the page. You're only as good as your last game. And Mike Shildt last year, I used to get irritated. I would text guys that were in that press conference and what the hell's he doing? Be honest with the ball club and be honest with the media. Be honest with the fans. Okay? It's not always rosy. I mean, that's the great thing about baseball, even though there's nights when, man, my team really stunk. But then there's that hope of coming back tomorrow night at 7-10 and even in the series, then that Thursday day game, win the series. That's what we love the game for. I mean, the game of baseball beats you up mentally, physically. And especially if you're a fan, you can't go out there and play mentally. It just wears you down. You're staying up late. You're frustrated that your team got beat. You wake up in the morning. I know that's the way I work. I come down, walking down the stairs in the morning. I'm still irritated the Padres got beat the night before. But I can't wait for the next night's game. But there's nothing wrong with saying your ball club played poorly. And we got to play with more energy. And that's not always the case. I mean, I will tell you that I'll be the first guy to tell you when your team plays poorly and you're not hitting, it looks like you're lethargic and like you got the give a factor. But that's not true. I mean, you're going against great major league players and you got to go out there. You got to match that energy every night. And you're not going to be able to get up like a football team for 162 games. That's unrealistic. That's when you give certain guys days off and let them get their legs back, let them have a day off mentally to where their mind can relax a little bit. They know they can come to the ballpark a little bit later, maybe take their kids to school or run some errands, just be a normal human being one day. And then know you got the day off. You can come in, you can work on some things, and then bingo, the following day you're back in the lineup, and it makes you fresher. And I've seen a lot of great players to try to play the 162, and it gets them in trouble. And they go into a prolonged slump, and then they got to fight their way out of it. Then I've seen other guys where they start to go into a slump, and the manager is able to read his players really well, and will give that guy a day off. And all of a sudden, that guy comes back, and he's on a 10-game hitting streak. You got to be able to read your players. And not everybody is going to be ready to play 162 games. I mean, Manny wants to play 162 games, and this year, who knows? Maybe he will. Maybe not all at third base. Maybe he'll DH a little bit. But the one thing, whether you like Manny Machado or aren't a fan of Manny Machado, he doesn't run down to first hard, or he does this or he does that. I'll tell you what, man, he posts. He wants to play every stinking game of the year. And I got great respect for that. Those guys that want to play every day, whether their hamstring is barking or their shoulders aching or their elbows twingy, those guys flat out and go out there and get the job done. And I got great respect. Now, as Manny gets older, you're going to have to give him a day here and there. And who knows, maybe, the latter part of his career ends up playing first base a little bit or DHing. As long as he swings the bat, he's going to be in the lineup. But, Mike Shildt, don't be afraid to say out in the media, man, we had a rough night. So-and-so didn't get the job done, or you're not going to necessarily say, well, Fernando struck out 4 times. He really stunk it up. You never talk individuals. You talk about the pitcher. Well, he didn't have as good stuff tonight. That's fine. But as far as your position players, you say, hey, we had a bad night. We didn't swing the bat well. We didn't play great defense. Don't be afraid to admit if your team didn't play well. That bugs me. As a former coach, I mean, your team is not going to play great baseball or great basketball or great football every time they go out on the athletic field. So if you have a bad night, you have a bad night. Move on. But when you're asked questions, don't get defensive. Answer them. I mean, we know your team sucked tonight, Mike. Why are you giving them excuses? That's my big deal. Don't be afraid to say, hey, we had a rough night. We just didn't play well tonight. Ball didn't bounce our way. You don't have to belabor it, but, don't try to get mad at the guy asking a question. Say, hey, how do you feel? Your team really kind of struggled. What do you mean we struggled tonight? Well, you got beat 7-3. And then give me 38 different reasons why you got beat 7-3. Don't be afraid to admit your ball club had a bad night. That really bugged me last year. I got to be honest. Okay, now, here's the deal about Mike Shildt. And I respect him, but man, again, right out of the gate, and I realize, FanFest is like recruiting day. There's never been a coach that's had a bad recruiting year. Would you all agree with me on that? Everybody, we've had the best recruiting year we've ever had, or we've had the number 10 recruiting class in America. Okay, there's no team that's ever had a bad FanFest when they talk to their fans and the media. They're not going to come out and go, well, we haven't done squat this offseason. We signed one free agent, a guy that's going to be our catcher 50% of the time. We gave him $3.5 million. We signed another catcher to a minor league contract who won a Gold Glove back in 2017, but he got DFA'd by a team that lost 121 games last year when he was hitting 114. Mike Shildt said, quote, here's Mike Shildt's quote yesterday or Saturday. We have had a really productive offseason. What? We have really had a productive offseason. Can somebody please explain that to me? They signed Elias Diaz, about 6 days ago. Okay, that's the big free agent signing. Well, what about the guys they lost? Kyle Higashioka, Hassan Kim, Tanner Scott, Jurickson Profar, Donovan Solano, David Peralta. Maybe Peralta will end up coming back. I mean, those guys all performed pretty damn well last year for the Padres in a year where they went to the playoffs and should have at least gotten to the National League Championship Series. Should have beat the Dodgers. And, I'm going to go to my grave saying that. I'm going to be going to my grave saying that the Padres, with that 2-1 series leading the division series, they should have beat the Dodgers. And they should have. But all of a sudden, they couldn't hit. 24 straight in. That's unbelievable. Still to this day, 24 straight innings. I'll never forget that. 24 straight innings. They couldn't score a stinking run. With the power they had, the speed they had, the ability not to strike out all that often. 24 innings. Man, there were two games to one. And then the Dodgers never let them score again. Unbelievable. Just unbelievable. But Mike Shildt thought the Padres have had a really productive offseason. Now, I'm going to say this, and I don't want this to sound like I'm picking on Mike Shildt, but Mike Shildt can only manage the guys that are on his lineup card or on his roster. Okay? He's got to go with what the front office and the ownership give him. Okay, the glass is half full, and I totally understand that. But I don't think you have to flat out come out and say we've had a productive offseason. Now, he will go in and talk about, well, this guy's having a great workout. This guy's having a great workout. Well, again, I go back to the recruiting thing. Nobody's ever had a bad recruiting year. Nobody's had a bad FanFest. Everybody thinks they're going to go 162-0. Well, when you're out working out, nobody's keeping score. I mean, you taking 100 cuts today or 150 cuts? You taking 100 ground balls? You're running sprints? I mean, as long as everybody shows up healthy, that's what I want everybody to show up in camp healthy. That's the big deal. But Mike Shildt, he got those rose-colored glasses on. And if you want to do that with the public and the media, great. But man, down deep, you got to be honest with your ball club. When things aren't going well, you got to call guys out. You got to get guys to bust their hump. And, run the ball club. Don't be afraid about a guy being mad at you. If you're a manager and you're worried about a guy being mad at you, then you're probably not the guy to manage the ball club. You're not out to win friends. You're out to win ball games. Okay, we're not worried about popularity contests. We're worried about winning ball games here in San Diego. At least, well, that's the way I look at it. I don't know how you look at it, but I want to win ball games. I just don't want to go to the ballpark and eat hot dogs and have a Coke or popcorn or walk around and look at all the great stuff. I want to win ball games. When I go to the game and make all the effort to go down there, when I'm driving home, I want to come home with a W. I don't want to come home with an L. I'm sorry. I'm a competitor. Even when I was a broadcaster, Bob Scanlon used to say to me after games when the Padres would get beat, he goes, man, you take it harder than the ball club does. I go, Bobby, if we're going to be involved with this, man, we want to win. We want to win. I just don't want to have a job just to have a job. I want to win ball games. Okay, now some of the things that Mike Shildt also said. Xander Bogaerts will be the shortstop. Not a surprise. AJ Preller told me that at the happy holiday party we had. Our holiday happy hour at the Leucadian. It was on December 5th. He told me that night, it looks like that Bogaerts will be the shortstop. I go, great. Get him in shape and he'll be great. And hopefully he comes into camp a little bit lighter, a little bit, a little more flexibility. I have no doubt Xander Bogaerts can still play a good, solid shortstop. Is he going to win a Gold Glove? I don't know. We'll see. But you know what? I think Xander's a highly motivated guy, good, high-character guy, a good teammate, and I think he'll bust his hump. And I really think he will do a good job. I believe in Xander Bogaerts. I'm not writing him off. A lot of Padre fans, a lot of baseball fans, oh, he's making all that money. Yeah, I know he's making a lot of money. Padres gave him the deal, and you know what? He was smart enough to accept the deal. Don't blame him. He's going to go out and he's going to give you everything he's got. The guy, there's a lot of pride with Xander Bogaerts. He's a good teammate, though, and a good man, and wants to get back to that form he had in Boston. So I'm pulling for him, and I hope he wins that damn Gold Glove. I really do. And I'm also the guy last year when they said they were moving him to second base. Remember that? I said, well, you know what? They'll probably, in 2025, Ha-Seong Kim doesn't come back. They'll move him back to shortstop. Well, they ended up having to move him back towards the end of last year because Ha-Seong Kim got hurt. So Xander got a little reprieve over there at second base. Now he's back at shortstop, where he's most comfortable. And I'm pulling for him. And then probably, the thing that we figured, it was no big surprise on FanFest. They weren't holding out. Mike Shildt said that Jay Cronenworth will be the second baseman. And we assumed that. He didn't really get into first base. First base right now may be a question mark. And the reason for that, Luis Arraez can play there, or he could be the designated hitter. But will Luis Arraez making $14 million? Will he be on this roster? That's the better question. Will he be on this roster? But I'm going to tell you something about Luis Arraez. He's a very average defender, and probably at second base, probably average at best at second base. I'll tell you what, he's doing a pretty good job over there at first. He worked at it last year, and he got better. And see, I'm one of these guys that I evaluate guys every day, not, oh man, that guy really sucks. And no matter how hard that guy works, he always sucks. That ain't the way I work. Every day a ball player goes out there and you watch him work, you watch him play, you got to evaluate him because guys get better. I'm a big believer in any sport or really any walk of life. When you show up to your job every day, you're either getting better or you're getting worse. You don't stay the same. And if you're really passionate and really into it, working at it, you're going to get better. You're going to get better 1% a day. If you get better 1% a day, you're going to be a hell of a worker, hell of a ball player. You're going to be great at whatever you do. But if you show up with a bad attitude, bad work ethic, then you're going to eventually work your way down into the porcelain fixture. That's simple. I want guys that want to lay it on the line. You don't need a bunch of superstars to win in baseball. You got to have some arms. You got to have some guys on the mound that can bring it and get people out. But as far as a lot of the other spots, you need some grinders, guys that are going to be there every day, thick and thin, good, bad, indifferent. And we got some good guys. We really do. But it looks like Bogarts is at short. Cronenworth is at second, and we know Manny's at third, and Manny's completely healthy. Manny said at FanFest Saturday he's completely healthy and ready to go. All right? Okay, now, the other thing that Mike Shildt said, and he said a lot of things, but I wanted to get to the meat and the potatoes of it. We had thought maybe Adrian Morejon would, maybe get an opportunity to be a starter finally. But doesn't look that's going that way. They're going to try to protect him because he had so many injuries. And the big thing with Warren, he got to make sure he's in good shape, get in good shape. Hey, remember Ryan Weathers? He's lost like 30 pounds. He got a haircut. He looked great. I saw pictures of him at the Marlins Fan Fest. He looked great. Lost 30 pounds. Still wore his hat backwards, but got his haircut. Looked great. And Ryan's a good kid. I wish him the best. But anyways, Adrian Morejon, get in shape. Hopefully he's in shape. Hopefully he can stay healthy. They're going to use him out of the bullpen again. And who knows with his stuff, maybe he ends up, as he gets a little bit deeper into his career, maybe he ends up being a high leverage guy in the seventh, eighth, or ninth inning. I don't know. Are they going to trade Robert Suarez? There's been talk about that. He's got 1 year to go on his $10 million deal. I have no idea who's going to be at Petco Park on opening day. I have none whatsoever. Because anybody that's making any kind of money could be an endangered species. But we'll wait and see on that. Okay, now Fernando. Let's talk about Fernando. Fernando said on Saturday that he's 100%. That leg injury he had a year ago, the right femur, his right leg, raring to go. He's completely healthy. No problems whatsoever. He feels good. He's ready to go. And Fernando, he also made a statement that I thought, I don't know how you took it, but he goes, when I'm 100%, and basically he was saying, when I'm really into it, there's not 5 guys better than me. Well, I believe that. And in my last podcast, a few days back, I mentioned, Harold Reynolds talking about Fernando, he'd be the guy the Padres could get the most for, and there's no doubt about that. But I said, I don't want to trade Fernando. But he would be better than Juan Soto. He can do more than Juan Soto. But he hadn't been able to stay healthy. And I went through all the different games he's missed and, what his career has been like with all the missed games. But his numbers have been, outstanding when he's played. But he said when he's really into it, well, you know what? He's starting on year 7. He got to get really into it. I mean, this guy, this guy is a Hall of Fame talent. And, I don't want to put him in the same category as some of these other guys, like a Dwight Gooden or like a Darryl Strawberry, because those guys had a lot of issues. And I'm really happy that Strawberry finally got his life together. And I hope Dwight Gooden has got his life together. I think it's hard for him. I think he's really struggled. And every once in a while, you hear about a run in with the law or a problem. But I like Dwight Gooden. I like him a lot. And I remember seeing him pitch. And, anyways, those guys should be in the Hall of Fame. Okay. There's no doubt. They had Hall of Fame ability. Will Clark, Don Manny, those guys were Hall of Fame type players. They came up short. Okay, maybe Will Clark, people will look at Will Clark and Don Mattingly down the road. Maybe those guys will get in someday. But there's a lot of Hall of Fame caliber players that never made the Hall of Fame. And Fernando Tatis Jr., I know he's still very young in his career. He just turned 26. But this kid's got Hall of Fame ability. And I really want to see him realize that Hall of Fame ability. And you know what? For you and me, and just baseball fan, whether you're a Fernando fan, I'm a baseball fan. And I like watching great baseball. That's why I love Dave Parker when he played for the Pirates. Love Dave Parker. I was a big Reggie Jackson's probably my all-time favorite player. I love Reggie. Okay, and of course I love Willie Mays and Vladimir Guerrero. I love watching those guys. Whether they wore Padre uniforms or not, it didn't matter to me. I love great baseball players. And Fernando is a great baseball player. And I'm just hoping and praying that he can get healthy and start putting together big time years. Because if he does that, his numbers are going to be off the chart. But he's got to stay focused and he's got to stay healthy. And hopefully that's going to happen this year where he could play. I'll take 145 games. I don't know about you. I'll take 145 games. Okay, we're going to get over to the NBA. And I don't talk much about the NBA. I think most of you that have followed me for any length of time, I love the Lakers. And I've been a Laker fan since I was a 7-year-old boy growing up in Solana Beach. And the reason I always like to tell the story, well, how did he become a Lakers fan? Well, I became a Lakers fan because of a guy named John Fairchild who played at San Diego High School in Encinitas. His dad used to drink at my dad's bar, the Leucadian, where we have our holiday happy hour party. We don't own the bar any longer, but we still lease the building out. And Mr. Fairchild worked there. And John played at Earl Warren Junior High School, San Diego, Palomar College, went to BYU, and ended up with the Lakers. He only played 1 year for the Lakers, 65-66, last man on the bench. But we watched every Laker game. In those days, it was on Channel 11. Chick Hearn with the call, and we watched every Laker game. And there weren't many on TV back in those days. The home games were never on TV. So, we get Boston, we get Philadelphia, we get the New York Knicks. Nationally, there was only one game a week on Sundays with Chris Schenkel and Jack Twyman calling the game. So, we'd listen to Laker games on radio with Chick Hearn and whatever games were on TV on Channel 11. And they eventually moved over to Channel 5. But John only played in 65, 66. Then he ended up in the ABA. But anyways, been a big Lakers fan and just live and die Lakers. My wife goes, man, when the Lakers are playing, you're a different guy. She goes, the Padres could be playing or the Aztecs could be playing or in those days, the Chargers. Man, when the Lakers are playing, you turn into a different guy. You know why? Because I grew up on Jerry West and Elgin Baylor and then Wilt Chamberlain. And then, you go into Magic Johnson and that whole crew with Pat Riley. And then you go to Kobe and Shaq. I mean, it's been a good reason to be a Lakers fan. Okay. But last night, or I should say Saturday night, it kind of went into Sunday morning, I should say. Saturday night, I watched this brilliant performance by the Lakers. I watched the Aztec game, and I was going back and forth between the Aztec game, and man, they barely got by Wyoming, but they got by them. So then I tune over to catch the last part of the Lakers game, and I'm going back and forth during timeouts, wearing the batteries out of my clicker. And so I get back to the Laker game. They win going away. I think it ended up 128-112. I'm going, oh, this is great. I'm going to listen to my man Alan Sliwa on his YouTube program. He does Laker Talk. So, he's wrapping it up. And then all of a sudden, I'm looking around on my phone, and it's going, breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. Anthony Davis being traded to the Dallas Mavericks for Luka Doncic. I go, oh, another clickbait. So I go, this can't be right. Now, remember, the trading deadline's coming up this week. And I'm going, this can't be right. I mean, Anthony's out with an abdominal strain. He's back in L.A. Doncic is out right now with a calf injury. Lakers have this big win. They're in New York. They're spending the night. And LeBron apparently is out to dinner with his family. And he gets word that this trade has gone down. And I'm going to get to LeBron in a minute. But anyways, I don't want to do anything because I'm not buying this. I'm going, this can't be right. And then I'm looking here and looking there, and I'm turning on NBA TV. I'm turning back Spectrum Sports. Nobody on yet. And so all of a sudden I look at ESPN. It goes breaking news. I go, man, this might be real. Now, when I saw it on ESPN, I started buying in a little bit, and then I tuned into Allen, and Allen was like finishing up his postgame show on the Alan Sliwa postgame show. And all of a sudden he starts talking about it. And you could tell he didn't want to believe it. And even on Monday morning, I'm having a hard time believing it. Luka Doncic coming to the Lakers for Anthony Davis. And the Lakers also had to send Max Christie, who, by the way, has been playing really good and played great on Saturday night against the New York Knicks. But if you miss the trade, and, nobody knows who the other guys were that went in this deal. This was actually a 3-team trade. But here's how it came down. 3-team deal. Dallas received Anthony Davis, who's a rim protector and an offensive force, as we know. They got Max Christie, good young player, and they got a 2029 first-round pick from the Lakers. Lakers also had another first-round pick, and they kept it. I mean, I don't know why Nico Harrison, the general manager of the Dallas Mavericks, wouldn't have tried to twist the arm of Rob Pelinka to get that second number 1 pick coming up. Okay, and in return, the Lakers get Luka Doncic, who'll turn 26 on February 28th. They get 7-footer Max Kleber, and then they get the veteran forward Markieff Morris. And then Utah, they got Jalen Hood-Schifino, a Lakers first-round pick from a year ago. They also got a 2025 second-round pick via the Clippers and a 2025 second-round pick via Dallas. I want to start with Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis, for me, could be very frustrating. When he came from New Orleans, I was so excited. But he had, early in his Laker career, he had a lot of injuries. A year ago, he played quite a bit. Recently, he went down with an abdominal strain, but been playing fantastic. I mean, absolutely fantastic. And really, I think in the prime of his career, he's 30, almost 32 years of age, in the prime of his career. And he's a rim protector. In fact, I'll tell you what, he's the best. I think he is the best two-way center in the NBA. He's a great rim protector, great defender, first-team All-NBA on defense, and the guy can score. And I know he's been a little frustrated. The Lakers really didn't get a big to go along with him where he could play 4. He's always having to play 5, but he's such a good 5. Okay, I mean, he's such a good 5. But he's increased his shooting ability. He's really good along the baseline. He's really good around the free throw line. I still was never a big fan of him shooting threes like they wanted him to do. I don't think he's a great 3-point shooter, nor will he ever be. But he goes along with Max Christie. But the Lakers get a guy that's a fantastic player. I mean, he's one of the top 4 or 5 players in the world right now, Luka Doncic. I think Anthony Davis is probably in the top 10. I think most of you would agree he's in the top 10. But Luka Doncic, definitely in the top 4 or 5 in the world. Why would Dallas trade Luka Doncic? Well, I'm going to tell you why. His weight is ballooned. They're very concerned about injuries, and they were going to have to give him a maximum contract coming up, 5 years, $345 million on a max deal. But now that he gets traded, he's not eligible for that deal anytime soon. So this deal's costing him a lot of money. But Nico Harrison, the general manager of Dallas, said, hey, look, we're built to win now. And defense wins championships. Now, remember, they were in the NBA Finals last year. Dallas got beat by Boston. And if you go back, and I don't know how many of you really pay attention to the NBA Finals, because it seems like right in the middle of baseball, and a lot of us are at the ballpark. Boston attacked Luka Doncic because he can't play defense. He's not in shape, and they're saying that his weight, and they always list him at like 230, 6'6", 230. They're saying his weight during the season right now is between 260 and 270. That's too big. He's a guard. He's a guard. By the way, he led the NBA in scoring last year. He averaged over 33 a game. Guy's a 5-time All-Star, 5-time first-team All-NBA guy. Was a Rookie of the Year. I mean, this guy is a hell of a player. And anybody that's seen him knows he's a hell of a player. But now you've got a situation. Why did Dallas want to get rid of this guy? I mean, he's out right now with a calf injury. He's played in 22 games, averaging 28 a game. The guy can pass the ball, can shoot the ball, and he can rebound the ball. This guy's the full package. I mean, he averages over 28 points a game in his career, and over 8 assists and over 8 rebounds a game in his career. And all those numbers are pretty much the same this year, even though he's only played in 22 games right now. And I think for the Lakers, I know this gets them the star that they need when LeBron retires. And when is LeBron going to retire? And on Sunday, LeBron came out and said that he's not going to be traded. Well, does LeBron know that for sure? Or is LeBron saying, I've told them I don't want to be traded? You know, there was a story Saturday night. Maybe LeBron would be traded to the Knicks. God, he went crazy on Saturday night. I mean, he's just unbelievable when he plays at Madison Square Garden. He plays like he's 25 years of age again. I mean, he had a couple of thunderous dunks you couldn't believe. I'm going, holy Toledo. I wouldn't want to be on the other end of that, be the recipient as he blew by me and went up above the rim and threw him down on my head. I mean, it was amazing. But here's the deal with Doncic and LeBron. Both these guys love the basketball. I'm anxious to see how this is going to work out. You know, short term, it may work out, it may not. Lakers right now are 9 games over 500. They're playing great. They just finished up a 4-1 road trip. And they got the Clippers coming up tomorrow night. And we'll see what happens, see who's in the lineup. I don't think Doncic will play. I don't think he's ready to play. And there's been times, I think it was last year, I think they had Doncic sit out for a while last year. I don't really think he was hurt. I think they wanted him to ride the bike and get himself in shape. He's 25 years of age, going on 26. You can get by with carrying that extra weight, but as you get older, it ain't going to work. Just flat out ain't going to work. And I think that they were concerned in Dallas, you know, this guy is telling us this, he's telling us that. He doesn't have a great reputation with officials, not going to get too many calls, I don't think. You know, just he's a great player, though. He's a great player, man. His range is when he gets off the bottom step of the bus. This guy can hit shots from the parking lot. But here's the deal. There's nobody that knows Luka Doncic better than the Dallas Mavericks. What didn't they like about him? What didn't they like about him? Well, they probably didn't like the guy was showing up, you know, making, you know, millions and millions of dollars and not showing up in shape. Maybe not being a good role model for other guys on the ball club. I haven't heard he's a bad teammate, but, you know, most guys don't say a whole lot about that. But in LA, he's going to have to share the ball with LeBron. Is he going to be happy? How long is LeBron going to stick around? And I don't know if the Lakers, with or without Anthony Davis, were going to be able to contend for a world title this year. Because really, with the Lakers, it's all about contending for the world title. And I don't see that happening unless they made another deal and maybe get a Miles Turner, get another big to allow Anthony Davis to roam. Dalton Connect at times has played well. Christie was coming along. Austin Reeves was playing well. Dorian Finney-Smith started to play pretty well before this deal. So I don't know. It'll be an interesting watch. I mean, it could be very much a soap opera. But there has to be a reason why Dallas did not want to be partners with Luka Doncic. 5 years, $345 million. Because once you sign that deal, you guys are together until the deal runs out. So I think long term, if Doncic can get himself in shape, probably a real good deal for the Lakers. But if he comes here with the wrong attitude, him and LeBron don't get along, he wants to go somewhere else, give it up Anthony Davis, who I think was a really good Laker. Hey, he's part of a championship team here, and they wouldn't have won that championship during the COVID year without Anthony Davis. He was a star. So there you have it. I mean, sir, everybody in the NBA is like shaking their head the last couple of days. When this came down late on Saturday night, I mean, people have been around the NBA for a long time. They're going, wow, I can't believe this. I mean, I don't know if you saw the Phoenix Suns, they were still playing. And they were passing a phone around with the announcement on the phone up and down the bench. And guys are going, like, nodding their head. They couldn't believe it. And Kevin Durant, if you go online, Kevin Durant had a um, great deal online talking about the deal when asked questions and just talking about the NBA in general. But I mean, the ratings for NBA has been down. Lakers have a history of getting great stars, dating back to, Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Shaquille O'Neal. I mean, they even traded, if you recall, when Kobe was nobody knew Kobe was going to turn out to be as good as he was, but, Jerry West made a trade to get him. So that was big news. That's as big NBA news as I can ever remember. Realistically, it was unbelievable. Okay, real quick, we'll finish this up. And again, you can leave all your comments on our YouTube page. You can leave them on my Facebook page or on my X page. Again, Facebook page, John Kentera, and on X at Coach Kentera 44. All right, Aztecs sitting on this Monday morning at 15-5, 8-3 in conference play. They got two games coming up. One this week. Saturday, they're going to be at Moby Arena at 7 o'clock to take on Colorado State. First meeting back on January 14th. Aztecs won that game 75-60. Miles Bird went crazy that night with 25 points. So that's the only game this week. So they get a little bit of R&R, but they do have to travel to Fort Collins. But go back to Saturday night. Man, that was a rough one. By the way, you know what? Hats off to San Diego State. They honored Ted Leitner at halftime, and Ted had a lot of his kids and grandkids down there on the court. Thank you, San Diego State, for honoring Ted. Ted's a great guy, and he's a good friend of mine. And I'm very happy that they honored him. They gave him a jersey that was framed with the number 30 for the number of years he's called Aztec basketball. And very happy for Ted. So a job well done by the Aztecs. As most of you know, this is Ted's final year calling Aztec basketball. He didn't do football this year, but this will be a swan song coming down the stretch. By the way, with their 63-61 win the other night, Brian Dutcher, his 100th Mountain West Conference win. But let me tell you about this game if you didn't see it on Saturday night. Aztecs led 28-25 at half, but they were down by 9 points. They were down 50-41 with 6:35 left, and things were not going well. Then all of a sudden, like they did against San Jose State, they went on an 18-0 run. Well, they went on a 20-0 run against Wyoming. Wyoming had no answers. And then it got dicey. They took a lead. They had a 9-point lead, and they ended up winning by 2. Why? Well, Nick Boyd got kicked out of the game for saying a naughty word to one of the Wyoming players. They booted him with just seconds to go. So that was like a double technical, and there was a foul. So there were 4 foul shots. Then they hit a shot, and it just got dicey. The bottom line, they won by 2. They hung on. 4 Aztecs in double figures. Magoon Guath, another big night. He played 37 minutes, had 14 points, 11 rebounds. Nick Boyd, 13 points before he got an opportunity to shower early. Miles Bird, 11 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists. And boy, I'll tell you, this freshman, Taj the Gorville, man, he is playing great basketball. 10 points and 4 rebounds. So the Aztecs sitting at 15-5, 8-3, and only 1 game this week. Hey, take care of business. Take care of business. Okay, UC San Diego, they're 18-4. They're 8-2 in the Big West. They've got a huge week. But let me tell you what happened. Last Thursday night, they won a late game over in the islands of Hawaii, 74-63. They trailed by 1 at halftime. They eventually came back. They were down by a total of 13 points early in the first half. They came back and won it 74-63. Tyler McGuy, 24 points, 5 rebounds. Aniwa Tate Jones, 16 points, 9 rebounds. Hayden Gray out of Santa Fe Christian had 13 points. Norden Kapich, who came in this year from Vienna, Austria, 11 points, 4 rebounds. And former Torrey Pines Falcon, Chris Howell, he had 5 points, but he had 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and 6 steals. Now, this week, I mentioned they're 8-2 in conference play. Well, the 2 teams they've lost to in conference play, they've got this week. Thursday night, and I'll be on the call. If you can't get to the game, tune me in on ESPN Plus. Steve Quiz and I will be calling the game Thursday night, Lion Tree Arena, 7 o'clock. UC Riverside coming to town against UC San Diego. The Highlanders won the first meeting a couple of weeks ago up in Riverside, 85-81. Barrett and Hargress, their outstanding sophomore, went for a career high 40 that night. So you got 2 of the best teams going at it Thursday night at Lion Tree Arena, 7 o'clock on the campus of UC San Diego. And then on Saturday night, and this game is going to be on ESPNU, 7 o'clock. UC San Diego going up to take on the Irvine Anteaters. Anteaters won the first match back on January 11th, 60-52 at Lion Tree Arena. And again, that game Saturday night will be on national TV, ESPNU. So, boy, Eric Olin, 18-4. And he got some guys coming in next year that could do some damage as well. But 18-4 and 8-2 in conference play. And really in the Big West, it's going to come down more than likely to who wins the conference tournament. And then finally, USD. Man, I don't know what Steve Lavin's going to do out there. If you're a USD alum, hit me up on our board today. Hit me up on our board. Tell me what you think Steve Lavin needs to do. He's been out there 3 years, making no progress. No progress at all. You know why? Because he can't keep these players. He brings in all these good players, and they ended up getting NIL deals somewhere else. I mean, with their loss the other night, they got beat at home 78-62 by Loyola Marymount. It was tied at 35, and then Toreros got outscored 43-27 in the second half. But they're 4-20, 1-10 in West Coast Conference play. And what are you going to do? I mean, seriously, what are you going to do out there at USD? I mean, Steve Lavin's a good recruiter. He's a good coach. But he's always got these young guys. I mean, Tony Duckett, I think, walked on. The kid out of Carlsbad. And he's been like their best player all year long for the most part. But, you know, where's Tony Duckett going to be? He had a really bad shooting night the other night. I saw 2 for 16. But he's had some big games. But Coach, I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, NIL has really played a part. They got guys going everywhere except staying at USD. And it's not because Steve Lavin doesn't take good care of his players. But guys come in. They got one guy at SC, and who knows where some of those other guys ended up from last year. But nonetheless, this week they're on the road. They're up at the Alex G. Spano Center on Thursday night, take on Pacific. That's the only team they've beaten so far in conference play. And then Saturday, they'll stop by the Levy Center at 4 o'clock to take on Santa Clara. First meeting, Herb Sendek and the Broncos eked out an 81-80 victory at Jenny Craig Pavilion against the Toreros, but 4-20, 1-10. You got the other 2 D1 programs just thriving right now. And the Toreros, man, they're having a hard time winning a ball game. Okay, we've talked about a ton of stuff today, folks. A ton of stuff. And I want your comments, whether it be on FanFest, whether Mike Shildt saying it was a really productive offseason. I'm still kind of wondering about that. Manny Machado disappointed. They haven't done anything really in free agency. Fernando saying he's 100%. And give me your thoughts on the Luka deal coming from Dallas. Anthony Davis and Max Christie, you going the other way from the Lakers to the Dallas Mavericks. And give me your thoughts on college basketball. Now, I'll be back. We got a live show coming up on Friday morning at 10 a.m., and we'll have a ton to talk about. And again, I want to get all your questions, comments, get them all in there to me. And we're going to pull out some of the better ones on Friday and read them on the air. Again, I thank you for watching. Please subscribe. Please like. And again, follow me on Facebook at John Kentera. and on X at Coach Kentera 44. Have a great week, everyone. Thanks for tuning into the John Kentera Show on YouTube. Bye-bye.